I am really proud to say that the City of Raleigh is incredibly fiscally sound. We have a very healthy fund balance, and some communities aren't that fortunate.
Hey Raleigh, curious about how things really work in your capital city? We've got answers straight from the experts who make it happen. Welcome to Your City Answered. I'm Rand Northam. Every year, the city is required by law to pass a balanced budget. So, how does the city decide what to fund, especially when there are many needs highlighted by the community and by city staff? Let's ask Budget and Management Services Director Sadia Sattar.
The budget development process in and of itself is about 6 months. So we kick off the budget in December, and then we wrap everything up when the manager proposes our budget in May. However, there's also a piece to budgeting, which is called budget management, and that happens year round. We are a team of 12 that works very closely with departments citywide. We like to say that we have our hands in anything and everything in the city, because a budget is a reflection of the city's values and its priorities. But more than that, a budget office in and of itself is a place where you learn, let's say, a little about a lot. So we are that first, let's say, that point, that gate that people like, departments like to say, hey, I got a grant. How do I appropriate it? That's through us. Or, hey, I need XYZ, or I need some more money for this. Can you help me with that? So that's us as well. So there's a development piece, and then there's a management piece as well.
And obviously you're not coming up with, here are all the dollars, here are all the needs, here's what we're going to do with all of this. Departments come to you, right?
Yes.
And make those requests. And that's must be kind of where you start with this whole process.
Absolutely. Well, we start with the processes. We start, before we even have departments come to us, we go to the community, because a budget should really be a reflection of our residents and their preferences and their priorities. So we do what are called engagement sessions. We go out to the districts, we host in-person sessions, we also host virtual sessions, and then we have a very, I'd love to say, but we host also what is called a budget and brew session, where we host an engagement session at a brewery in town, and we say, we give you the pizza, you buy the beer. And that's a resident's opportunity to really let us know what they want to see in the budget. We bring all that information together, and then when we kick off our budget process, that is an opportunity for us to let directors know, to let the manager know, hey, this is what the community wants to fund. This is what they want to see. This is what their concerns are. So we start with the lens of what we've heard from our residents, first and foremost.
How do you then kind of sift through all that? There's tons of priorities, and everybody's priority is the number one priority.
Yes.
How do you sift through that and really kind of pick out what becomes the top priorities and what must be funded?
Well, I would say that there are tons of priorities, but there are always some voices that are louder than others. So our residents are incredibly concerned about affordable housing. They're incredibly concerned about their sidewalks, as well as their pavement markings. So those, we know, are some of these overarching priorities that our residents have. But then there's all this other stuff. We obviously are I would say, a large growing city. So with that comes a lot of other services and responsibilities that we have to provide. So we could not do this without our department directors, as well as, the folks in their teams who let us know throughout the budget process, bringing those requests forward, what those needs are to keep ensuring that Raleigh remains a competitive place to live, work, and play. And it sounds complicated, which it is, but we work with a really solid group of subject matter experts who are able to communicate their wants and their needs in a manner that we can then, kind of put through as part of the budget process to make sure that it's funded. Not everything gets funded every year, but we really hope that what our residents prioritize, and that's to say, affordable housing, sidewalks, and its pavement markings, as well as our public safety departments, they get the funding that they need.
Let's go back to the way basics now of this for somebody who maybe doesn't know. Where does the money come from for a budget for a municipality?
So I'd like to say, in any municipality, we're not the federal government where we can not have a balanced budget. We have to have a balanced budget. So our revenues, that's where the money comes from. That's the property taxes that folks pay. If you live in the city of Raleigh, you pay a water bill, you pay a stormwater fee, you also have a yard waste fee. So that's where our money comes from those taxes and those fees. And of course, if you spend money in the city of Raleigh, you are also paying sales taxes. But property taxes remain our most stable sources of revenue. Now, where the money goes, we have plethora of services that we provide in the city of Raleigh. So we have, zoning, we have police, fire, emergency communications. We also have parks and recreation. We have streets, traffic lights. That's where the money goes. Solid waste services, coming and picking up your garbage, every week, your yard waste every week. So that's where the money is going. But where the money comes from is primarily from those taxes and those fees.
What's the largest part of the budget on the money going out part then?
The money going out part, about 43% goes towards our public safety department. So that's our police personnel and all their stuff, fire, as well as emergency communications. Yes.
And we hear talk about this all the time. Personnel is a huge part of the budget, isn't it?
Correct. So we provide services, but it's actually people that are going out in the field to provide those services. So the majority of our budget goes towards our personnel. That is our salaries, that's wages, as well as benefits. Yes, people see the fire engines, and yes, they see the police cars, but there's a lot of really cool things that our city funds. So for example, we have an Office of Sustainability that just is doing, urban heat mapping. We've provided funding for those efforts. We are one of the few cities in the United States that is moving towards a whole EV fleet. And that's a huge priority for us, so that to ensure that we, kind of commit to sustainability, and not just in the present, but in the future as well. The other thing that we do is we also have an Office of Strategy and Innovation. And over the course of the past year, we revamped the city's strategic plan that really identified some key focus areas such as environmental resiliency. And some of the things we do is that we partner with businesses around the city to see how they can kind of benefit through impact partner grants. Our Economic and Social Advancement Office also issues what are called business uplift grants. Or facade improvement grants. So those are dollars that are smaller but have huge impact to the community. So there's a lot of little things that this budget or our city budget touches. So for example, our engagement budget, which is not huge, but through the usage of surveys, we're able to kind of capture so many voices as part of the budget process, so that we ensure that we are not only capturing the loudest voices that we may necessarily hear, but also capture those voices that might be a little afraid to come to a hearing, but still, can ensure that, yes, they were part of the process.
You mentioned revenues, expenditures. That plays a lot into the development of the budget, how we're going to then spend the budget, all of that. Outside factors play a big factor as well. COVID, we went through COVID, and that was a huge impact on just how the economy behaved. Even more recent years, there have been impacts on how the economy behaves. The Middle East and what's going on there and all of that. So how much are you following all of that, and how much of an impact can we see on just the general economics of, grant funding from the federal government and beyond must have a huge impact on our local budget as well.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people forget that even though, we are a local government, what happens in the national landscape impacts us tremendously. You mentioned the Middle East a little while ago. What do our vehicles run on? It's fuel. These buildings are powered through electricity. So we are impacted, like every household. We are also impacted by these changes in the national economy. With the prices of oil going up, we've had to, really kind of look back as to how we're using fuel, and then what is that going to cost us. With the prices of electricity going up, we have to think about how we continue to provide our, employees a comfortable work environment, but at the same time be conscientious of what we're spending on these fuels. So it's definitely a concern, but that is something that kind of we have to keep in mind throughout the year. It's not just when we build the budget. So like I said, there's a development piece, and then there's a management piece to budgeting as well.
And lastly, we have to have a balanced budget, but there's a little bit of a rainy day fund built in there as well, right? So that
Correct.
If something doesn't pan out 12 months down the line, we're at the end of it, that we have something that can take care of everyone, right?
Yes. I am really proud to say that the city of Raleigh is incredibly fiscally sound. We have a very healthy fund balance. The Government Finance Officers Association recommends that a city have 17% of its annual expenses in reserve, and we have that and then some. So we are really, really fiscally, what's the word, solid, perhaps. And some communities aren't that fortunate. We were fortunate that we were able to balance this year's budget. Yes, we did it with a property tax increase. However, we did not use any reserves like our neighbors did. And that really goes to show that some of our fiscal practices of making sure that we are conscientious in how we spend, we're efficient, those really paid off in the long run to ensure that that tax rate increase wasn't as high as some of our neighbors.
Got a question you'd like us to dig into? We'd love to hear it. Visit RaleighNC.gov and search podcast to submit your questions. Plus, catch every episode. Thanks for listening to Your City Answered, where your questions lead the conversation. Brought to you by the City of Raleigh.